I think like nearly 2,000 family members of 9/11 victims, as well as first responders and survivors. They released a statement or sort of an open letter, I guess, to President Joe Biden, and it's not not congratulating him on his job well done. I think they've said that he's no longer invited to any of their like memorial events or anything, particularly because he won't release certain documents related to 9/11. That could show, for example, Saudi involvement or just whoever funded it. So yeah, tell us about this open letter that they put out.
Yeah, so I mean, you pretty much nail all the details on the letter. There's not a whole lot to that, Will.
Yeah.
The write up is 9/11 families to President Biden don't attend our memorial events. The letter is signed by 1,800 of them. And this is, remember, we're a month out from the 20th anniversary. So certainly Biden has on his schedule in the month to come here different events for, the 9/11 memorial. And so I do think this comes into play. What the families aren't saying to Biden, you're not allowed to come. What they're saying is you had to follow through on your promises. And what they're saying is that he had a pledge to declassify U.S. documents related to Saudi Arabia and the 9/11 attacks. Now, so I guess let's get into like the 28 pages in the issue here,
Yeah.
because a few years ago the 28 pages were released. However, 28pages.org has this article, 7 unanswered questions about the 28 pages. I'm not going to break them all down on this show. If you're interested to think what might be in there, go through and look at it. But basically, what is laid out here is that there were about 70 or I think 79 redactions in that report, ranging from like if somebody it looks like somebody's name to entire paragraphs. And because the 28 pages didn't have some of the revelations that people expected, because of quotes from people like Walter Jones and Thomas Massey, who said things like when they read the 28 pages, it changed their whole view of U.S. foreign policy. And
Yeah.
Massey, I believe, said that if Americans read it, that their whole view of U.S. foreign policy would be changed during that time. And so I guess I'm not expecting the documents to be released. I'm not expecting Joe Biden not to show up to these memorial events, but they could be kind of tense situations if, some kid whose dad died in the building is standing there and tells Joe Biden to leave. He wasn't a victim of 9/11. If his family died that day. So why exactly should, he get to go and be like the center of attention at one of these events if the other people, the actual victims don't want him there? I think that's going to be a hurdle that Biden might have to overcome. And I don't know what's in these pages. No, nobody does, but I do think it's interesting again that people in the know, like Thomas Massey, have indicated that there's more in there. And where these redactions are, it does seem like maybe there could be some names covered up that are significant members of the Saudi royal family. But again, we don't know until those documents get redacted. And it seems like the people that would have a right to make this demand of the U.S. government would be the victims of 9/11. And one
Yeah.
last thing to add into Will, is that it's not just a matter of they want this information to know, which I'm sure is important enough, but they want this information for their lawsuit against Saudi Arabia, because
Right.
if Saudi Arabia did fund, the crime that you left them as victims, then they should be due recourse. And so that's another part of this to look at. Anything else on this story, Will?
Yeah, and just to add, like these victims' families, they're not just like going on some weird conspiracy theory that Saudi had some involvement here. Like the declassified 28 pages do actually show quite a bit. Like there are redactions and they want all the answers. But like if you read Scott Horton, the great Scott Horton's wife, actually Larissa Alexandrovna, did an awesome analysis of the 28 pages that were declassified. What we do have, and it does show some very weird stuff, like money transfers going from Prince Bandar bin Sultan's bank account in D.C. to some of the handlers of the 9/11 hijackers. Very strange stuff there, but like doesn't it doesn't it's not a smoking gun, and that's what these families are looking for is like all the information the government has, and they've not been forthcoming with it. There's been a gigantic movement to try to get them to declassify this stuff. Brian McGlinchey, I think, has been a major proponent of all that. And so, yeah, I do hope that, not that it's super likely this statement's going to put much pressure on them, but I do hope they get their information sooner or later.